Welcome back to Cannabis Canada with Jason Wilcox. I'm now back in the studios. It's been a crazy 48 hours in another very provocative move. Another very provocative move. The city of Vancouver decided, and we warned them, I warned them openly in my blog, many people warned them, not to interfere with Cannabis.ca. They chose to surround it with a large number of officers and quite frankly use intimidation methods such as cameras and getting people's faces to, in my own opinion, deter people from being able to exercise their Charter 2 or Section 2 of the Charter right to assemble and democratically and peacefully, which is exactly what the cannabis culture has always done. And one of the people to get arrested at this event, and of course one of our warriors here in BC, we go back a long way, especially here in the city of Vancouver, Mr. Neil Magnuson. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jason.
Now, Neil, you were arrested and taken down, and you were actually, I believe, doing, I'm not sure, I wasn't there. You see, let's just start with the morning. 8:30 in the morning we show up. How many people would you estimate were there when we were trying to just bark at pack at the dogs?
I was there at 5:45. By 8:30, there was a few dozen people probably, you know. Was that around the time when we put up the first tent?
Yeah, well, we popped the first tent, I think, at about 9:30 or so, and that's when we first, remember, you and myself and Jeremiah, we all engaged the officers and the city engineer.
Yeah, over Vanessa's tent.
Yes, the city engineer.
They told her to take it down, and she started to, and then I said, I don't think you should do that, and she stopped. Yeah. And then the city decided they would take it down, and they moved towards it, and I informed him that I was an officer of the Marijuana Party of Canada, that this is an election year, that as such we have protections under the Elections Act, and we're allowed to put up our booth and our tent and campaign anywhere and in any fashion that we choose during the lead up to this election. So they backed off at that. I explained that's a serious crime in Canada to do that. If you interfere any further, you're liable for that. So they backed off, they had a little huddle, and they allowed us our tents. Now you guys were right there, right at that, well, that was kind of going on, and you were putting your own tents up, which was perfect. No,
we popped the coalition tent, and Budzilla's tents went up right at the same time. That was coordinated, but we wanted ours we had all our media crew. We popped it up. We took that chance. That's after the city engineer and the sergeant spoke to us, and you know, I was just like, look, dude, I'm a medical patient, and I'm going to put my tent up, and I'll have a Section 2 right to assemble here and democratically exercise my right to free speech against the failed and flawed policies of the MMPR. And myself, having been the lead on the coalition, sure as hell, I wasn't going to back down, nor was any other BC activist. We told you guys this in our blog. Neil, did we not warn them?
We sure did, yeah.
We warned them. Now,
this was outrageous, but to have that police presence there and to use those intimidation and harassment tactics the way they did is outrageous. We're a peaceful demonstration that happens for the last 20 years in the same place. They blocked our access to the north side of the art gallery. We told them that people are going to show up and we're going to have our event whether you like it or not. And we'll take the streets then if you've made it so we can't use it. And they said we could use the south side, but they said they didn't want the festival atmosphere or aspects. No stage, no booths, and no vending. Well, we said, well, we can't go along with the no vending and no booths. That's not right.
Some ice cream haze there from Lunchalicious.
So that's how we proceeded. They sent a letter 3 weeks out from the event to Jody Emery and Mark Emery, telling them to cease and desist any more promotion and not to have the event. That resulted in a meeting with them, with the police and members of City Hall.
Hold on, now let's hold on right there, because I'm sorry, but I'm media. I have to ask this. This is my job.
Right.
Jody, Mark, Dana, where were you this morning when we needed to rally the troops and push back the dogs? I just don't know I just don't know where people were this morning. I was lost because by 10:30 when we decided to finally pop the tent, I was scared that they were actually going to get away and deter people from Cannabis Day and keep it just a standing protest and turn it into Toronto. I'm sorry, GTA, but you know what? This is BC, and we're not going to put our tents down. We're going to continue to stand, as we did. I think it was, well, how many people finally showed up in the end?
Well, I wasn't there in the end. I heard it was a pretty I heard it was a good rally.
It was a good rally. I'd seen pictures. Exactly. I was in Victoria hanging out with this.
Hundreds to 1,000 or more, I'm not sure, but I heard it was a good rally. It was very happy to hear that, actually. We were kind of gone and moved far ahead in the story, but I did get to talk to Kirk Tusaw when I was in jail.
Well, hang on, let's jump back then. Before
so he told me that it was still going on.
I want to get to you in jail.
Yeah,
so hang on, let's not jump
He told me
there.
it was still going on, so that made me really happy.
Yeah, it jumps me ahead too. Well, you know what? I'm amazed because it's been 15 years we've been doing this, and we've never ever seen this sort of provocative stance from the police.
Nothing
anyway,
like this.
They decided to move in. Now my crew and I left. We had to chopper over to Victoria for a client, and we had a chance to hang out.
We had the booths going up, and there was lots of them that went up, and that was all good. Nobody was selling cannabis at that point. I went and talked to the head guy, the head cop that was there, the old guy. And I said, you know, we're going to start selling cannabis because that's what we're going to do here, and that's our protest, and that's the reason, you know, the laws against selling cannabis are why we have Cannabis Day. So he said that he understood that and that they were going to be realistic. Oh, good, fine. That's what he should. I mean, it was a conversation I expected to go the way that it went. Now I felt like we were good to go, so I pulled out a few jars, put them on my tub there, and was immediately surrounded by people very happy that cannabis was going to be available. So I dispensed some cannabis. I could see that the police were paying way too much attention to me. Other people saw that too and started trying to block their cameras from me. But I felt too much pressure from them, so I put my jars away. I decided I had to go do some other things anyway, so I put my jars away. And then the second lead cop that was there, Brandon, I'd talked to him numerous times during the day. All good conversations. He called me over. He said, Neil, and he said, if you keep selling cannabis, we're going to arrest you. And I knew I had the CBC cameras on me, Global and CTV were there. And I told him, you know, we are going to sell cannabis. That is what we're going to do. I am going to continue to sell cannabis because that's our protest. And we're protesting these bad, destructive, harmful, costly laws. And that's what we're going to do. But I didn't right away. I went back and I just sat down with old Dave there. And I watched them watch me and saw that at least 4 of them weren't breaking their stare at me. And they were moving closer, and there was more and more of them congregating. And so I went and talked to the head guy again, and I said, we have no need for all these officers. They're worrying all of these people here. You should send them back somewhere else away from here. We don't need to have this police presence. He said, this is the same amount of police that we would always have for this event. I said, well, I don't know about that, but I know that mostly we have an event with many more times the people than this. And your officers are spread out on the corners, and we don't have this type of feelings. So I told him that and didn't get much good response from him. Then when, like I say, other people were also saying the same thing. I saw Georgina go and appeal to them that you're really scaring me and our friends, and why are you here like this? This isn't right. And then I stood up from sitting down in the grass and said to about 4 officers, maybe 6 officers that were kind of right there, I said to them, look, you guys don't need to be here. You're causing problems by being here. You could be inciting a riot because you're making people very anxious and angry. And go away. Stand down, walk away, please. And they didn't. And I could see they were coming for me.
Now, were they inside their perimeter? Because I remember engaging them earlier when they came up on the steps and saying, get back to your perimeter. And I didn't like they were using their
right
camera
there,
tactics.
And I'll tell you, they were right there on the sidewalk. They were maybe about 25 feet from me in a large group of maybe 15 or 20 of them. And then there was another 6 or 8 or 10 that were like within 8 or 10 feet of me that were just way too close, way too big, close, way too mean looking. And I didn't feel right about it at all. Just between you and me, I decided that maybe my backpack would be best not in their possession. So a couple friends of mine did a little sleight of backpack, and that disappeared. So that's good. And then within a few moments, they were there grabbing me violently, saying, you're under arrest. 2 of them, 1 on each arm.
Yeah. Oh, you got marks. Look at that.
Yeah, one on each arm. They grabbed
me hard.
Show
that to the camera here.
They grabbed me hard and tried to pull. And to wrench me up. I mean, I didn't have a chance to respond. I mean, if they'd have said, Mr. Magnuson, we'd like to talk to you. Would you stand up, please? I would have stood up and talked to them. If they'd have sat down with me and said, you know what, we're going to arrest you, we would have negotiated that. There wouldn't have been what happened. But because of how they did it, some of the members of our community decided hug power is the time right now, and they just launched into me and held on to me. And rather than the police recognizing a negative, violent situation and then backing off and deciding how to do this in a non-confrontational way, more officers jumped on me. a whole bunch of arrest officers all came and formed a circle around the scrum. It was like a rugby scrum with, I think, 3 or 4 of us underneath and intertwined with these maybe 10 or 12 officers. And then a whole bunch of the other officers circled them and locked arms, put their backs to the people, and in some cases pepper sprayed. You know, they did
their standard tactic.
They did the dance. You know,
yeah, their standard tactic.
Can officer dance where we're gonna kick you while we, and yeah. It was brutal to see. But it was obvious to me, looking back on it, they trained for that.
Okay, so let's put a rumor to rest. Everybody out there online, there's a rumor going around you sold to a kid. Yes or no?
Never sell to kids.
I know, dude. I'm playing devil's advocate.
You know, I've been a strong community member my whole life. I'm a hockey coach.
So there you go. There's your answer to those haters online.
What do you call a minor? I'm not sure what you call a minor.
I don't know, man.
In Canada,
just saying.
If you're 18 or 19 years old, you get free access to the most dangerous, destructive, and addictive liquid drug on the planet.
What were you charged with, bro?
Trafficking a controlled substance. Never once did an officer say...
Was it to a child? Was it to a minor?
So never once did any officer say to me anything about selling to youth. Never did it, never before they arrested me or after they arrested me.
Just trafficking.
The first I saw that was on the media when I got online after they let me out last night, and I was abhorred by that. I would never sell media. You know what a kid is.
I know.
Some snot-nosed 14-year-old with his baseball cap on comes up, hey, mister, will you sell me some weed? You know, we get them at the rallies, right?
Oh, yeah,
Every time for all these years, I said, you go bring your mom and dad, we'll chat, man. But I'm not selling you no weed.
The police know us. We've been doing this 15 years, and you're well-known. And to take you down hard, to know everybody's been trained, and to the people watching, please get on this, watch Pod TV this week, get on to understanding what just happened and the people that were involved. Because what you've seen was a small example, but what if it was a larger crowd, that party wouldn't have happened in the afternoon if the warriors like Mr. Magnuson and others didn't stand up once again and say this isn't going to happen, this is going to continue. And it started earlier on with saying no, our tents are going to go up whether you want to or not. That was an engagement with the city, with the engineers, with the police. Then there was talk that they were going to shut down Howe Street as long as, you know, and that was going to be cool. The art gallery backed off. Everything seemed okay. And then finally, boom, they move in and that happens.
Well, you can see, it's obvious when you go back and look over it, that they were going to bust whoever started selling weed. That was their plan.
This is what bothers me.
So they were walking through with their cameras, they're all walking through looking at who's doing what, and they were looking for who's going to sell weed, and they were going to arrest that person.
But why take the leaders?
Well, that's a bonus, isn't it? I think that's a bonus. I mean, maybe they were targeting me, because I was obvious all day long there. I was the first one there, and all day, you know, orchestrating things, talking to them about this and that. And so, you know, I was an obvious leader there. So maybe it was that. But maybe it was just luck to them that they got them. Not so much luck, but, you know, maybe they were. And I think they were. Just going to bust whoever it was.
How did Momo get involved? Did he just hug right into hug power?
Well, David's the master of hug power.
He's the master of hug power.
He's been preaching it for a long time. He's used it successfully many years ago. Not so much lately. But when they... After, I don't know, what was it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the ground, getting kneed to the chest and being crushed. And
I know
they
you
almost
can't
choked
even hug,
me unconscious.
You can't even hug people right now.
They almost broke my arm. I screamed at that cop that was twisting my arm in behind there. I said, you're breaking my arm, man, and I'm not resisting you. You know, and he let go.
Here's another thing, is that nobody was in, you know, we talk about hug power, so people understand it's the interlocking of arms, like I'm doing now.
Well, you're hugging the person being arrested as best you can.
Also, the people that couldn't get by the police line started interlocking arms and moving in, just so people understand this is a non-confrontational stance to an officer, which is why we interlock arms.
We never
but for those that didn't do it, you never raise your arms, you never become aggressive, so you have your own defense. But the interlocking of arms and the grabbing of one another's knees or legs is what you've seen happen from the activists that have been taught from the old school and knew what to do. And I think some of the new school need to learn from the videos that we're going to be releasing and what we're going to be talking about on Friday and what some of the response, there's going to be fallout from this. There's going to be fallout.
The reason it was defeated was because they had too many officers, and they had a strategy to diffuse it or to combat it.
That failed. I think they had a strategy to deter it.
I mean, they got us into the paddy wagon and they took us away.
It
failed.
But how many tents did they fail to put up? How many people did they stop? How many drugs did they stop? That's what I'm saying. Because
people sold weed still all day long there, right?
But because people took a stand, like yourself and others, took a stand, put the tents up, said screw you, challenged the police, stood their ground. More people need to show up. You want to lead, you want to be an activist. Activists act, lead by example. I'm calling out all the leaders because at the next show, BC needs to show why we are BC. Because I know those in the GTA thought it was funny. I heard some of the comments online. BC knows how to hold it down, as we demonstrated, and it may take a few radicals to get arrested. They might say, oh, those guys are radicals out there doing that. We're holding it down. You enjoyed the afternoon? It's thanks to Mr. Magnuson and others, you know, that broke that ice for you. And you'll be seeing that in videos that are coming out. We got timelines of all this stuff. Dan Dix, Press for Truth, check that out. It's got some awesome footage of the arrests and everything. The pepper spray, I mean, again, people interlock like this, not aggressive, and they get sprayed. How do you justify
I was so
that?
proud of the response from our community. I mean, nobody put a cop in a headlock. Nobody swung at a cop.
No violence. No
Nothing
violence
like that.
No, it was all.
I really hope that this event doesn't cause people to be afraid to stand up to police. I hope it does the opposite. It empowers people.
It was civil disobedience 101.
I'm okay. My ribs hurt a little bit. That'll pass before very much longer. They're not going to be able to do much to me, you know, through the criminal law. I'm a licensed medical user of cannabis with an exemption.
You're a Canadian citizen with a constitutional right?
I sell cannabis on Cannabis Day proudly because that's the protest that we put up there, and I'm more than happy to say that I do that. Would never sell to a kid. The Canadian Senate said that 16-year-olds should have access to cannabis. You can drive a driver's license at 16. I mentioned that you can get the most dangerous and addictive drug of all at 18 or 19 in Canada. So I'm not sure what a minor is, but I didn't do any transaction with anybody there that wasn't at least 17. Yeah. And that's what I know. I didn't ask for ID, but you know a kid when you see a kid, and you know somebody that's a young adult when you see a young adult. And you know, the myth that cannabis hurts the developing brain is just that. It's based on flawed studies, as David Malmo-Levine has done such a good job debunking.
The charge alone speaks for itself. The charge is just trafficking, says it wasn't a minor. Otherwise, it would be trafficking to a minor, which is a much more serious offense. So that just drops the whole issue of that. Yeah. So let's carry on now, because I want to close this up.
And as an officer,
there's a lot of people here tonight. Just so we talk about this, there are a lot of people here in the other room, leaders that were there, people that were sprayed, people that were involved in this, that want to come on and talk about this, because the people of Vancouver and the leadership are still scrambling to figure out, but we're extremely upset, not necessarily with the VPD, who've always been good with us, but who paid for it and who gave marching orders to try and shut something down in 15 days that they knew even the best of leaderships in a collective could not stop 20,000 or 15,000 people from coming down and doing what they have a constitutional right to do. And who are you to tell us not to?
It's a criminal misuse of public funds at the very least. It's probably inciting a riot beyond that.
Well, provocation. This is what I said. I said you're provocating this.
They incited because they were dealing with peaceful, well-medicated people. But had it been any other group, had it been an alcohol-based group, we would have had police officers seriously injured.
Sergeant John, I spoke with him. He was one of the sergeants there. Jeremiah and I spoke with Sergeant John. This sergeant was cool. He said, well, you have a constitutional right to assemble. Not a problem. You know, and he goes, I understand that. And he goes, you guys know you guys got people power. So I'm like, okay, I understand that. So I talked to a few friends. I said, just wait till there's more people, you know, but there had to be the few that were willing to say, we're going to challenge. And I know one thing, when I put that tent up for myself, I was prepared to go ahead and spend a day in cells because, again, it's an obstruction charge or whatever.
Well, and you could see that they were of that kind of an attitude.
We were ready, but they also seen we had cameras, we had microphones,
an opposing army that was also getting ready. Yeah. That's what it looked like to me.
And by the afternoon, they backed off to the perimeter, and any police officers who may see this video, please just stay on the perimeter and stop coming in with your cameras and provoking
and inciting violence.
End up being a riot. What's happened today is only going to grow because people are going to once again see what we had to use 15 years ago. Once again, what hug power is and what fighting for the right for liberty is, because in this country you have a right to free speech and the right to assemble. And for you to try and step on that, shame on Vancouver, shame on the goddamn mayor,
shame on the VPD,
and shame on anybody else that was involved, and shame on the leaders that didn't come out and say we're going to take a stand. Cannabis Day is just as important as legalization for 420. Cannabis Day was founded in medical, and there's still screwed up, flawed medical marijuana laws that are paving the way to legalization, such as Allard, that's before the courts, and Smith, that's already decided. Everything we're enjoying is thanks to those courts. Why do the cops run? Because of the Constitution. Only this Bill C-51 that I got to figure the fuck out because I'm still mad. Something ties in that really stinks. They've never done this, ever. And I know that we're going to be talking more. There's going to be people talking, and we're going to bring more to you, and we're going to tell you what we can. But I tell you now, pay attention, and when the time comes, show up. If there's a police line, walk through it. Leave your stuff in your car, but show up. Don't allow a police line to deter you, because that's what they did in the early hours of the morning, right up to about 11 o'clock, when people finally started showing up, because tents started going up. Okay, we need to do this sooner, stronger, and together, and we need to talk, because this is BC. Nobody's going to take this from us.
This event will create a lot of unity. I saw a couple dozen new activists getting their baptism and performing extremely well. So heartened by the response of shaming the police. I wondered, you know, in the paddy wagon and in the cells, you never know what's going on, right? That's the thing, like, did they end our rally? Did it continue on? Did a whole bunch more people get arrested? Like, you don't know nothing. You're just sitting in a cell, man. And then finally I got to talk to Kurt Tusaw, the lawyer, and he said, well, I don't think they're gonna let you out at least until the rally's over. And I said, the rally's still going on? He goes, oh yeah, it's a pretty good one. Cool, are people selling weed there? Oh yeah, cool. So yeah, man, they didn't succeed, we did.
That's awesome.
And now this video and all the videos and images that were taken from yesterday, they look so bad on the Vancouver police. It's a really dark day for the VPD.
Well, again, I'm not going to. I like a lot of the members of the VPD. I talked to them, and I know that they had marching orders. They couldn't even tell me, but you know what? Some of them wanted to say what we did and didn't have a right to. Blah blah blah. Even though some of us knew, there were still officers trying to tip us off because they know what they were doing was wrong. This is a peaceful, passive protest, and to try and start saying the kids, you know, I say the beer, the pills, the fridge, the fridge.
Prohibition.
Prohibition, period.
Lie to kids about
On that
drugs.
note, Neil, you know what? I'm going to have you back on the show, dude. We're going to talk more about this, and I appreciate seeing them drop this charge.
Me too.
All right, brother.
Pretty sure that's going to happen.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for making it news.
Stay tuned to Cannabis Canada for more.